I'm the tortoise.
And I'm the hare.
And welcome to our book club.
I just have notes up in here.
I took
full of
notes
hate.
for this.
Full of hate.
Because I wanted to make sure you got my live reaction of this.
Okay.
Then I can remember my live reaction, because where is my notes? Let me pull up my notes. This is very important.
Okay.
Notes
Let
are
me send this
deeply
to
important.
bully my husband first, and then...
I thought you said bullying doesn't work.
Sometimes bullying works. He sent a picture of a drill rig that said, "My happy place," to the internet, and I'm like, I'm not your happy place?
Ooh. That is bullying.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I just want to show you, since we're looking at each other, you can
Okay.
see my how long my notes are.
Oh my gosh. I think I sent you my live reaction of notes on some of them, and it's mostly just, what the fuck is this?
I mean, yeah, I think that's about the general reaction. Well, by the way, I already started recording, so...
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay.
I got it right when you said my notes are up here.
Okay. Well, that's where they are. Hold on.
And this is why it's good. We have mute buttons on our microphones because we have dogs. And dogs bark. And now it's just me. The tortoise ditched me. I have been abandoned. It's just the hare alone. Which is fine, I guess. While she's gone, I guess I'll introduce the fact that we're talking about From Blood and Ash. And she's back.
Thing 1 and 2 are now trapped, so...
Well, my baby is probably going to start snoring at some point, and that's fine, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to cut out their craziness. Can you hear their panting?
Vaguely, but it's fine.
Because if I turn down the gain, or if I move the gain, what happens?
Who knows? This is what happens when we have new microphones.
I got a new microphone!
It's pink and fuzzy.
It is pink. She's a girl's girl.
She is a girl's girl.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
I think you're fine, honestly.
Okay.
They'll
settle down. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
From Blood and Ash.
I've been waiting for a week to do this.
That's true.
So...
You've been waiting for me to plow through the
Mm-hmm.
audiobook because I suck at listening to audiobooks.
I'm like 3 audiobooks away from this at this point. I have listened to 3 audiobooks since I finished this one.
Yeah,
so...
I think I've taken a small break from reading lately because I read all of the Covenant series by Jennifer L. Armentrout.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started listening to From Blood and Ash. And the second book is already out on graphic audio. So
okay.
I think I'm just going to keep with Blood and Ash. I think I might just go ahead and reread the whole series. Since my next series to read was the prequel series of Flesh and Fire. To Blood and Ash was my next on my list. So I figured I might as well just start all over and just read all the books in the recommended reading order.
That's a good idea.
Since I'm already here.
Yeah, you're already here, you might as well.
I'll be fresh with everything. Which I will say, spoiler alert to anyone who's listening, we're going to talk about these books and these series, and I have a feeling that the tortoise is not going to continue reading this series. So nope. I will be spoiling what I remember.
Please do.
So that way I can tell her it does go better, at least in the rest of the series. Though, I will recommend most people who don't like Blood and Ash really like Flesh and Fire. Because they're not the same storyline and they're not the same characters.
Okay. Because a big problem that I have with it is the characters. Like,
so that's the thing. You will like than Flesh and Fire, because they are completely separate characters who have completely different motivations with completely different backgrounds.
I'll give it a shot, but I feel like a lot of my problems with it, yes, are the characters themselves, but mold into the writing style.
Fair enough.
And the plot just wasn't very interesting to me.
Like I said, I'll spoil like the rest of what I remember for the future stuff, because the plot is so much better book 2 on. Because there's actually like extremely high stakes that make you go, oh shit, who's gonna die?
Yeah.
So I will say that. I went ahead and pulled up the Goodreads description.
So me too. Look at us.
We can go ahead. Nice. So anyone who's listening, thank you. We've actually gotten a decent number of listeners in the past not too many couple months, because we're on what, month 3? We love you. We're on like month 3 or 4.
I think so.
Which is pretty
We started
great.
it with the new year, so.
Yeah. So by this time, this is going to come out like that first Friday of April. Or first or second Friday of April. So we'll be on month 4 when this comes out.
Quattro.
This is episode 8.
8!
Holy shit.
Hey, why is 6 afraid of 7?
I don't know. Why?
Because 7, 8, 9.
I hate you. But, so if you're listening, welcome to episode 8. Leave us some fan mail. If you click in the description, there's a link. Especially if you're listening on your phone, you can click on it and it will send us a text message basically. And you can
click the link.
You can tell us how much you either love or absolutely despise From Blood and Ash, because that's basically what's gonna happen in this episode.
Do you agree with me that it's like one of the worst books to have crossed my path? Or
are you like me that's like, la-di-da-di-da, turn off brain, this is fun?
Yeah, we've discovered we have 2 totally different turn-off brain books.
Yes, because your turn-off brain book is, was it Blood of Hercules?
Yeah.
Is that the one? And that just the description alone made me want to burn all of my existence.
I had no idea what I was getting into, to be fair. I didn't read the synopsis. I needed a long book for what was it, like a 20-hour round trip drive, and it worked. And I was giggling.
There you go. I don't think, especially after attempting to read Zodiac Academy, I can't read any book with Academy in it.
Okay.
Or with an academy of any kind that even remotely says, oh, I've entered this place and now they all hate me. And I'm like, oh god, I can't do it. I can't. I'm like, this is some teenager shit. Like, grow up.
To be fair, she was a teenager.
Exactly. Grow the fuck up. I can't do it.
But you'll listen to Poppy and you'll like Poppy. The ultimate teenager.
Yeah. I related to her way too much.
Oh god, I hated her.
Hey, listen. To each their own.
I don't hate you.
No, I know. But I think it's like 2 different brain mindsets when it comes to how we view characters too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it just has to do with our difference in life experiences and the different things we've done. And
could definitely be.
That's how I've settled on it, because it also comes down to our taste in books as well. Like we share a lot of the same like preferences, but the things that annoy you don't necessarily annoy me.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I think
brain wiring.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is why we have such a different opinion on From Blood and Ash, but at the same time why we can see where the other person's opinion is coming from.
Yes.
Because I'm not here
Being able to listen to somebody else is an important skill to develop children.
Ain't that the truth? So, because like my goal of like in my brain, the way this podcast is going to go today is just us talking about these different things, and I probably
Mhm.
will try and defend as much as I can, or
Yeah.
at least give you my perspective on it, but
Okay.
I'm not gonna make you like the book.
You sure aren't.
It's not gonna
Nope.
happen, and I am
Nope.
okay with that.
That's good.
Because, like I said, I think you will like this prequel series because the main characters come across a lot older, and there's
hmm
a lot more maturity to some of the stuff that's happening.
Okay.
Like I said, just the beginning, they're two different stories, and they're meant to be.
Okay.
So I do think if you have some free time and you can find the audiobook, I would give whatever the hell the first book in Flesh and Fire is called. A Vision in the Ember? Yeah, I think it's called A Vision in the Ember. Because actually,
I'll take a look.
A lot of people liked that book, and I did not. Like, I thought it was interesting, and I think could see the connection to the Blood and Ash series. But I'd also spent 5 books with these characters, so it's like for
That's
me to
fair.
be like, oh, same world, different people. I'm like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like when you. I'm sure this is not a universal experience, but when you binge read the Bridgerton series from start to finish, I only got to like book 8 before I was like, this is a rehashing of the last 7 books.
Probably, yeah.
With the same character pattern and everything like that. So I'm sure it's kind of similar where authors unintentionally do develop that structure that they tend to follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we're here to talk about Blood and Ash. If we get to
We
Flesh
sure
and
are.
Fire. If we get to Flesh and Fire, that'd be great because it is it's a whole universe and they're all connected, and it's actually really important that they're connected.
Okay.
So let's talk about book 1.
Book 1 from Blood and Ash, which is the Blood and Ash series, book 1.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the description, or?
It's up to you.
I don't care. Do you want to distance yourself even further from this book?
Yes, go for it.
So I'll read it.
Yes.
Okay.
I tortured myself enough. Now it's your turn.
You're welcome. A maiden, chosen from birth to usher in a new era, Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be with the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice has never been hers. A duty. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders, something she's not even quite sure she wants for herself, because a maiden has a heart, and a soul, and longing, and when Hawk, a golden-eyed guard, honor-bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. A kingdom forsaken by the gods and feared by mortals. A fallen kingdom is rising once more, determined to take back what they believe is theirs through violence and vengeance. And as the shadow of those cursed draws closer, the lines between what is forbidden and what is right become blurred. Poppy is not only on the verge of losing her heart and being found unworthy by the gods, but also her life when every blood-soaked thread that holds her world together begins to unravel.
Alrighty.
There we go. So that's the back of the book.
Yes, that's a pretty detailed synopsis.
Yeah, because I think that's the one thing about this book that benefit it. The book 1 really benefits from hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
Because out of the books in the series, it is not the best book in the series.
Okay.
And fun fact, there's a book for this one that is from Hawk's point of view.
Sorry.
Again, I view Hawk as Castile, right? As the character I spent 3 more books with, and you're like, you actually get to see him be himself.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, book 1, dude, okay, I might have to burn you. Book 2, Castile, book 3, Castile, we can talk about forgiveness.
Okay.
Because
I didn't like Castile in the last little bit of the book.
Oh, you're not meant to.
Okay.
I don't think you are at all. That's my opinion on Castile. I don't think you're meant to really like him.
Mm-hmm.
Like to a
Ever?
certain extent, I can see not meaning to like him. Now,
Yeah.
how intentional that was by Armentrout, I don't know. But when I
Mhm.
read it, the more I see things, there's like points where I think you are supposed to like him in the sense of the dynamic of him being like, what's the best way to put this? Of like him just being a good guard and not trying to get her killed.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this aspect of him I do, especially towards the end of the book, where in my opinion as a reader, I don't think I'm meant to like him.
No, it's clear you're not supposed to like him, but also it feels like you are supposed to like him.
That's fair. I truly didn't feel like I was supposed to like him, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because you end up learning to kind of like him later on, because his actions become a bit more, I guess humanizing is the best word to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot less like, ooh, I'm the dark MMC of this romantasy novel, you know? Like, you actually get to see his character, because as he is Hawk, he's not himself. Hawk is not Castile for the most part.
Right.
So when you get to know Hawk, you only get to see bits and pieces of Castile. So we actually didn't spend the whole book getting to know him.
Right.
We get to know his persona that he had to take on to do his job.
Mm-hmm.
So
infiltrate.
Yeah. So not liking Castile, I think, is such a valid point, and I don't think you're meant to.
Okay.
So I will lay that out there. I agree with that 100%. He annoyed the fuck out of me. I had a moment where I stopped. I was driving, and I was like, you know what? I still have like 30 minutes left in this drive. 30 minutes to an hour, I could finish this audiobook. I am not going to. Because all I want is for Poppy to shank this man.
Right? Yeah.
But
for real.
Okay, listen. You have to admit you felt some sense of satisfaction when she stabbed him. When she stabbed him in the chest.
Yeah, good for her. Good for her. I had to remember that part.
Like, remember that moment, because I remembered that happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I can't wait to get to this. I can't wait to get to this, because that was one
Thank
of my favorite parts.
Finally.
So, let me just bring up my notes. We could start kind of from... Because I'm more than happy...
The very first chapter?
Yes, we could start from the very first chapter. It was too much.
It was...
Yes, I agree.
If I didn't know, like, that I had to get through the whole book, and, like, if I was just picking it up off of a bookshelf and skimming through it, or if I had just started the audiobook, just blindly not knowing anything about it, I would have DNF'd. I would have gotten to the first chapter, and I've been like, what the fuck is this? And I would have closed it and put it back on the shelf. Because what the fuck was that? On so many levels. On so many levels of it. Of, like, petulant teenager, weird consensual dynamic, which we read enough dark romance. It happens. But, like, it was so ickily done, like, yuck, that I was just like, I hate both of these characters. I love body representation in books. The hyperfixation on her body and the type of body she was, and like the word vomit description about her, and like, I'm not thin, I'm a thick built woman. Good.
I
That's
think I
great.
wrote something like that.
We don't need to hear it every other paragraph.
I'm trying to see if I can
And then for it to
find...
never be mentioned, like, ever again. And, like, for her to have that insecurity, but then never mention it really ever again. And then also be, like, very fit and very confident in what she can do with her body. It didn't add up to have that part in there.
I agree. Trying to see, because I was like, I feel like I thought I had written this down, but at one point I was like, girl, I get it. I don't need to hear the description of how you look 1,000 times. I'm good.
Yes.
I'm done. Give it to me once. You can give me one big detailed description right in the beginning, and we'll call it a fucking day.
Yeah. Because it's good to have, like, a mental picture of the person. But, like, for it to have been presented in such an aggressive way, aggressive isn't really the word that I wanted, where it's just, like, very forefront insecurity, blah, 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 blah. And then for her to never have that insecurity really again throughout the entire book.
Yeah.
Doesn't add up.
Yeah. I think, yeah, there was some, I can see that. I can see that. Because, like, I'm trying to see where I have it from the first little couple chapters. I think, like, from the first two or three.
Okay.
I have Poppy's voice is not my favorite, but it could grow on me.
Okay.
Her voice actor was not my favorite, but That's more of an audiobook thing than anything else. So, again, as a person who read the books prior to ever listening to it, Hawk having a British accent made me lose my fucking mind.
Good or bad way?
In a good way.
Okay.
That's a personal preference thing. I have a thing for accents. It's just me.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's a me thing.
I feel like that's a widely accepted thing. Accents are nice. I like accents.
And also it served the purpose, like, later on of, like, why there's actually a purpose to him having an accent. And that was nice. That was actually a nice little touch. Like, just from the from a directing point of view for graphic audio, he purposely has an accent. Because in the book, it's an accent.
Oh, okay. It's also felt like it served to differentiate him as, like, from not of this lands.
Yes, agreed. That you're already like, oh, he's already
different.
Kind of different. He's an outsider, it feels like. We don't know, like, where he's from and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
Next note was, damn, I forgot how spicy this got right off the bat. And then finally, to round off chapter 1, 2, stuff.
Yeah.
Of, like, I'm kicking my feet and squealing like a little kid, but I'm most likely self-inserting LMAO.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think, so let me get to, like, why I have no problem with Poppy, for example. It's the same reason why I can block out any issues I might have with Violet or Feyre. Self-insert.
Yes.
Because I'm just like, especially Poppy and Violet, both of them, I'm just like, that's me. I can ignore everything about what this character is doing because it feels like decisions I, without that background, would make, which is the problem we talked about before. But I am, to a certain extent, if I, like, had one of those stupid anime moments where it's like you get hit by a freaking truck and you end up in the book you were reading sort of situation.
I love those. Those are my favorite.
I would be Poppy.
Okay.
You have to admit that. Think about it. Think about it a little bit, personality-wise.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's why, to me, Poppy's make sense, because she makes the decisions I would make. But I don't have the background that Poppy has.
Right.
Or that we're told she has. So when you say her decisions or her actions and her, like, her personality doesn't make sense, I'm like, yeah, but I don't give a fuck. Because I'm having fun.
And that's what really matters when it comes down to it. Like, take our opinions, and this is a total side note, but take our opinions with a grain of salt. If you like it, you like it, and that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
I, for one,
did
not have those pleasant feelings. No kicking the feets were happening. I had, the little like green throw up emoji on text messaging.
Yeah, that actually shows up in my notes in the second half.
Yeah, okay. That was my face through every single intimate scene that ever happened between Poppy and Hawk. Anytime Poppy and Hawk like were forward facing, I hated every second of it. I have a pretty strong stomach. I have listened to or read a bunch of really inappropriate, spicy scenes, like
extremely raunchy,
like dark romance, just all kinds of problems with them. And I'm fine with it. I felt like you when you were saying you cannot believe the romance between the two and how that turns you off of like the book itself. I could not believe the romance between the two. And also every time we were in Poppy's head, and I know it's like a first person perspective, so it's kind of all from Poppy's head, but when she has those little narrator moments, we'll call them, I pulled up the text that I sent you because I have some quotes in there from her. If he reached me, he would touch me, maybe kiss me, and that would be forbidden. Like, bitch, what do you fucking, you're in a brothel. What do you think is going to happen? You went up to a private room and you're being held in this guy's arms and he's clearly making advances on you. What do you think is going to happen in a brothel? My dude.
That I get. Okay, so let me explain where my brain goes for that. So this is the part where I mentioned before that I relate to Poppy's character.
Okay.
Like, I agree, a lot of her personality, if you were to take her and put her in, like, the real world, her personality would be pretty different, right? Mm-hmm. But the one thing that I will say, and I wrote this down, is that for me, as a person who has never experienced an intimate relationship, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Her thoughts, other than like talking about being forbidden so much, I was like, girl, I'm gonna burn that fucking word out of your brain if you don't shut the fuck up with it.
Because it doesn't matter to her. The forbidden doesn't matter to her, so why is it brought up so many times?
I think because she wants it to matter to her.
See, I didn't get that from the book.
I did, and
okay,
this is where, like I said, how I could get in. If you took Poppy, minus the abuse, which I think we'll talk about a little bit.
Yeah. Yep, that's on my list.
If you took out that aspect, because I actually wrote this down, I'm like, this is for later in the book, or right after, when I right when I started book part 2, and it kind of relates. I was like, it's kind of crazy to think that if Poppy had just been treated a little bit better, she probably would have been completely okay with ascending.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I think of, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. There's no real best way, but I'm trying to think of the right words to put with it to make it make sense.
Okay.
So when I was reading it, I read it as from the perspective of somebody who has never had sex before, who's, in my case as well, has never had a partner before, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, while I wasn't as sheltered as she's described as being, which if you take in certain contexts in mind, she's actually not all that sheltered.
Right.
She is, but she isn't, and that's mainly because of Victor. So when you take a kind of sheltered and then all these like not experiencing certain things, while I do wish she had some brain cells for the brothel thing, I am with you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the thought of like, oh my God, he's gonna touch me. Oh my God, like he might even kiss me. Those are thoughts I would have as a person who's never had a partner and who has never even. I've been on one date in my life.
Right.
In my 27 years of living, I've been on a singular date. And I'm not gonna lie, the one time I was like, oh, if he did this, I had very similar thoughts at 20-something.
Yeah.
So, like, that stuff didn't, to me, I was like, yeah, I get it. That part didn't bother me. Now, the being stupid of like, girl, what did you think would fucking happen in a brothel in an empty room? Like, come on. I get, but at the same time, I am in the mindset of like, I can see where that comes from.
Like, and I get that. Because I also did not get into a relationship until fairly late in life. Yeah. Like, I think 24, 25.
Something like that.
Same situation of like, never been on a date, all this sort of things. So like, I know that aspect of it. I guess I just, the hyperfixation on the forbidden is the part that bothers me.
Okay.
Like not the nervousness about being in a room with a man who's approaching you sexually. Like the nervousness of that makes sense. Like, like, does my breath smell?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I didn't have enough water on my first date, and so I was like, no, you can't kiss me. So
that's funny.
Yeah. So like, I get that nervousness. It was just the fact that she's like, it's so forbidden to be here. But she doesn't seem anxious or angry. She's not like there I don't know. It doesn't seem like anxiety is tied to her feelings of forbiddenness, or she's not doing it out of anger or spite.
Okay, I get that. Okay. I see where you're coming from. I think the reason my brain clicked on her not caring really that it's forbidden, and like, I do agree that she should have probably some anxiety around it. Like, there should be that moment of like, oh my God, fuck.
Yeah.
You know? But I also have thought for a while that she doesn't care.
Okay.
And actually, I don't know if you remember this, Hawk is the one that points that out.
Yes. Yeah.
That he's like, you don't care. Like, he points out later on, like, down the line, that you don't care. In my brain, I'm like, oh yeah, she doesn't care. She's never cared. And I think she wants to care. I think that's because it's first person. That's how I read it. Of like, she gets brought up so often that if it's not on purpose, like you would hope that the author has a decent editor that's like, please stop using the word forbidden, right? But
we would hope.
You would hope. So you have to give at least that much benefit of the doubt, right? That sounds like a pretty fair benefit of the doubt to give.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then you have to think, why is that mentioned so often to the point where it's fucking annoying? Right? And the only explanation for that to make sense, at least in my brain, is for it to be that she wants to care. That she wants to be okay with it being forbidden, because she herself says that she feels like she should be okay with all the things that she does, with all the rules put on her, with all the things that have happened to her. Like, she should be okay with them, but she's not.
Right.
And that's the only explanation I can come up with, other than bad editing, for that to come up so often. Is that it's almost like that internal dialogue of telling yourself the same thing over and over again until you believe it. That's the only explanation I can come up with. And for me, in my brain, I'm like, I can see that being the case.
Okay.
I can see it being plausible. That's why we mentioned. Because once she kind of accepts that she doesn't want this shit anymore. Yeah. And when she's like, fuck this, that the forbidden stuff kind of stops.
Right.
Now, it's very late in the book, and at that point, most of us are fed up with it.
Yeah, we are.
But like I said,
I
that's
guess
kind of
like
my
if
view
you
on it.
were if you were to try to make it so that it's I should feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
That's never, at least in the first bit of the book, that's not said. It's like, I guess, fear of being caught
Mm-hmm.
that is forward with it, of like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like none of the forward anxiety, or I'm doing this because I don't care that it's forbidden, or I want to live before I'm trapped in the ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to have this experience. I don't remember that being really stated.
I don't think it ever is, and I think, again, the only way to explain that,
Yeah.
and the way my brain processed it, basically,
Mm-hmm.
is that I think to a certain extent she knows it, but she doesn't. And because it's from her point of view, she's not going to say that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I think the author could have done a better job at conveying that maybe through different means, like actions and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like talking about like how she shakes or something while she's doing this. Like while playing cards, if her hands were shaking while she was there.
Right.
That would have been a fun little detail.
Mm-hmm.
To be like, she's thinking all these things, but her hands are shaking, to just give an indication of like, she is somewhat nervous. Or,
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you also think about it, though, Victor has been taking her out to take away people's pain for a while.
That's true.
So I think there are ways to explain why she behaves the way she does,
Yeah.
but I don't think the author does a very good job of pulling it all together to paint a good picture without you as the reader needing to piece that together.
And I want to be a lazy reader, and I don't want to have to do the math.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like, some people are just like, I'm here for the vibes. I'm here to
Yes.
read and have fun, and I need
Uh-huh.
you to over-explain this to me.
Right. Yes. Or under-explain it. Drop me into the middle of the world with absolutely no idea what's going on. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, there's ways to go about it that just work for some people and doesn't work for others.
Yeah. And I think part of why I so aggressively disliked the intro part of it, because it wasn't really a problem until Hawk was introduced. And I think looking back through our messages, like, I am just tired of that character, that prototype character of the teenager's dream man or whatever, of like, here's this handsome, perfect man that everybody loves and wants to collect little vials of his sweat so that they can, I don't know, worship it or something. Like, and but he's like rude, or he knows that he's handsome and he knows that he's a good looking man. I'm just tired of it.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
No, I get that. And I think the one thing you would appreciate, and I'll bring up spoilers now, because it's one of the things I actually wanted to mention to you, since I kind of figured out at a certain point, I'm like, she's not going to keep reading this.
Nope.
So I will say,
Hawk.
that's fair. No, that's fair. Like I said, I like Castile because of the later books, not because of the current book. I well and truly think you're not supposed to like him in this book.
Okay. Yeah.
Because of all the things you said. Right?
Yes.
And I will say the fun part about the series and about their dynamic that changes as time goes on is that the power dynamic shifts so firmly in Poppy's direction.
Okay.
That it's like, if you look at the two books, you almost want to laugh.
Okay.
Because, spoiler for anyone who's listening, Poppy is actually, they say she's an Atlantean at the end of the book.
Yes.
She's not an Atlantean.
Okay.
She's actually the child of a god.
Oh, okay. So the gods are real.
The gods are very, very real. And that's what the prequel series is about. It's about the gods.
I love books about the gods.
Yeah. So she's actually the child of a god, and so it turns out she is actually the rightful heir to the Atlantia throne, because that's actually how it works. So it turns out she's the heir to the throne, and because of who she's the child of, she's not just a god, she's a primal. So she's like top tier power level, can control life and death sort of power.
Okay, and why does she not know this beforehand?
So they kind of briefly mention it in this book, though. He mentions Castile mentions something called the culling, which is basically like when you hit maturity.
Yes.
And that's when you get your abilities. That's when you gain your powers.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't hit that.
Oh, okay.
And her parents died when she was really young. Then they weren't even her parents.
Okay.
Her real mom is alive. It's the queen.
And that's why she cared about her so much?
Yes.
And she just left her?
Yes.
To that?
So it was this weird moment we get to see, because there's actually they bring it up a lot in book 1, but there's a whole event called the War of the Two Kings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Book 2, 3, 4. Book 4 is called the War of the Two Queens.
Okay.
Because it's her versus her mom. But the kind of explanation I remember, which again, it's been a couple months since I've read the books.
Okay.
Or past book, 1 at this point.
Yeah.
The explanation given is that she was trying to protect Poppy.
Well, you failed at that.
No, and the thing is, she brings that up, and she's like, if I would have known what was happening, I would have killed him myself. Sort of situation, Well,
you're an absent mother, so...
Yeah. The plan she had for a kid, so the Ascension, right? She'd hit her culling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the plan was actually to marry her to Prince Malik, Castile's brother.
Oh, and that's why they were keeping him in captivity?
Actually, they kept him in captivity, and he hit, Stockholm Syndrome.
And so he's in love with the queen?
Not really with the queen, but, he was fully down with all of this.
Oh, okay.
When he comes back and we're, rescuing him, he's like, no, I'm fine with all this shit.
Interesting.
And I'm like, you son of a bitch.
We did all this for this?
This
man?
This is some bullshit.
Yeah.
And, she almost died trying to do this because some stuff happens when she finally, so book 2, or maybe it's beginning of book 3, something like that. I don't remember. They kind of realize she's in Atlantia, and they're trying to figure out how to get Malik back.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of politics stuff is going on, and there's this guy who actually was helping, said he was going to help her adoptive parents, Poppy's adoptive parents, bring her to Atlantia.
Okay.
Because they were trying to get her out.
Of?
Solus, the kingdom.
Okay. Of the country itself.
Of the country. They're trying to get her to Atlantia.
Okay.
But this other guy who we meet later on, is actually the one who kind of helped orchestrate her adoptive parents' deaths. And he tries to kill her in one of the later books, because that's when it's revealed that, she's actually the child of the gods, of a god, and is the primal, and therefore is the rightful heir to the throne of Atlantia.
Interesting.
And all this stuff. So the power dynamic shifts because she's basically able to kill or revive people.
Just casually?
Not even casually.
Bringing people to life?
Kinda. Not really back to life, but if they're dying or on the edge of death, she can bring them back. As long as they still have life in them, she can bring them back.
She's a healer.
No, she can also straight up turn them to dust. That happens in book 2 or 3.
Okay.
She lost her fucking mind, and these people were trying to kill her, and she was cornered, and it was the guy I mentioned before. And she literally turns them to dust from my memory.
Nice.
So
we love that.
The power dynamic of the two shifts so much by the end, because you're just he becomes the do. That's my wife. I'm gonna do what my wife tells me to do.
It's not me you have to be afraid of. It's my wife.
That's the kind of thing that happens later on.
Okay.
Again, from my memory, it's been a minute, but I remember that standing out to me, being like, "Oh shit, the power dynamic shifts a lot."
Yeah. Well, I mean, if your wife can turn you to dust, you're gonna do what she asks.
Huh. And
you know, I bet she doesn't have to ask him to do the dishes twice.
Nope. And then if your boyfriend's also telling you, "Hey, listen to your wife," then you're gonna listen to your wife.
He has a boyfriend?
Listen, you can't tell me that Kieran's not his boyfriend. Shut the fuck up.
That's true. That's true. I think I got to the end and I was like, I remember she said something about a triad. Is it Kieran?
Yes. So basically, there's this whole little ritual thing that happens. So they mentioned that, like, Wolven can be, like, bonded to an Atlantean. It's a way of, like, strengthening each other.
Okay.
Like, physically, and I believe, like, it gives some sort of, like, tactical advantage, basically. But it also means that if one of you dies, like, shit can go to shit real fast.
Like, they both die?
I think so.
Okay.
Or at least it makes you want to die.
Like the bonds on the...
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's another thing called, like, the joining. And I'm trying to remember the details of this. It's fuzzy. Where basically it's like a 3-way exchange of blood. Let's be honest. They're vampires, essentially. It's vampires and werewolves, if we're being blunt here.
Yes, it is.
But there's, like, this 3-way exchange of stuff that they use. It's like an Atlantean and whoever else. I think it's 2 Atlanteans or Atlantean-esque people.
Okay.
And a Wolven. Basically, the 2 Atlanteans bond together with the Wolven acting as, like, the glue. And it's called the joining, and so they all get, like, connected, and it gives, again, that another, like, boost. But, well and truly, if one of them dies, they're all dead.
Right, yes. Yeah. So you have to really trust the people that you're joining with.
Yes. And that's the threesome I mentioned that happens in book 4.
So it's not overtly romantic.
It isn't, but it is, because you get sexual. It gets sexual real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Though Kieran and Poppy don't, they don't bang. But Kieran certainly Kieran certainly did enjoy watching it happen, though.
Oh, well, some people are voyeurs.
Again, from my memory.
Yeah. It's tragic because Kieran and Poppy were about the only 2 that I could actually see any kind of attraction with.
And I will say that it's even better in end of book 2, maybe?
Okay.
Or book 3, one of them, because Castile gets taken again. And so it's just, like, Poppy and Kieran, and I'm just like, that's cute.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Yeah. I just feel like Poppy needed somebody reliable and calm.
Yes.
And Castile was not that person.
Yeah, I agree. And she does get that from Kieran in, like, book 2 on. Once they kind of stop being hostile towards her. And even Kieran pretty much stops being the moment that Castile is like, she's fine. Because Kieran does trust Castile implicitly.
Yeah.
At this point in their lives.
You kind of have to at one point.
Yeah. And so she gets that later on.
Okay.
I will say.
Yeah. I don't know. Every time there was any kind of romantic or sexual interaction between Poppy and Hawk, who he was at the time, she knew him, it felt manipulative. And that was giving me a big... It felt manipulative because it was, obviously. But, like, the big ick.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think if you go into the book... And it's almost like you want to warn, like, I want to warn people going into the book to that you aren't supposed to like Hawk. That it's going to feel gross. Because no one's no one other than Poppy is being honest. Like, turns out Victor, right? That guy?
No.
So he's dead. He doesn't come back.
Oh, I forgot about that.
However, listen, Victor's death gets me every time. But Victor was even lying to her to a certain extent.
Why? What did he do?
So there's actually a thing we learn about more in like the prequel series, and it comes back in the later books. But there are literal spirits called Victors that serve the gods as protectors.
So he was a spirit?
Mm-hmm. He took on the mortal form to protect her as a guard.
Aww.
And then he died.
Did his job.
He did his job.
Victor.
So even Victor was lying to her.
That's true. Well, he wasn't really lying.
Omission
He was
lying.
her
Shut the fuck
protector.
up.
He was her protector.
Yeah, but he didn't tell her the truth. He had every opportunity to be like, let's get the hell out of here.
That's true. He never saved her from it.
Yeah.
The big problem.
Yeah, so a lot of people were not. This whole book is nothing but everyone lying and manipulating her in some way, shape, or form. Well, and truly, that's all it is.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't get the truth from anybody.
Ever.
Even her mom. Which I'm so angry about now that I know that the queen is her mom.
You're meant to be. It's meant to piss you
Yeah.
off.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I can throw you another curveball.
Okay.
You know how they were talking about the history of the vampires and like how they actually were made and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So do you remember there's like King Malik had a lover named Isbeth? Yeah, that's her.
The queen?
Yep.
So she's the evil queen that betrayed the Atlantean people?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, at least she has a history of being awful.
Yeah.
At least that didn't just come out of nowhere, specifically at Poppy.
Yeah. But it's a very intricately built up, like, there's a lot of lies and deceit, and that's basically half the series.
That's annoying. I don't like that.
Well, and you know me, I love a good political people
You
lying,
do,
manipulating, gotta figure this shit out. Who's lying, who's telling the truth, who can you actually trust, and in the end, it's just you.
Yeah.
And your husband who's now just like, okay, wife, whatever you say.
I support you full time. Don't turn me to dust.
Yeah. Like, well, then again, we already know, and because you mentioned that you found this disgusting, that he finds it hot when she's violent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, at least that's one point in him not being like a couple other MMCs of fantasy novels, where all the other ones typically are like, oh, I'm just misunderstood. And he is that to a certain extent, but he also is he is what you see.
Right, yeah. Except when he's trying to manipulate her into trusting him.
Yeah. But now
that he then takes it, because he could have manipulated her without the sexual betrayal.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the point. Even he felt like he crossed a line, and that's where when they slept together, that's why he said what he said. Because he knew she would figure it out pretty quickly after that. Okay. Because there's some moments in the book, like as they were talking, that kind of made me go, oh, okay. So we're at the end of the book now. They've slept together. They're in New Haven, I believe is the name of the city, because I wrote it down.
Okay.
And he had said, please remember that this was real.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the moment even he realized, I have crossed a line. I can't, like, to me, this is how I read Castile's character at this point. I have crossed a line. I regret what I did, but I also can't regret what I did because I have a job to do. And does that make him a good person? Even he's like, it doesn't make me a good person. I know I'm a bad person. It's now, is it to the point where he's a little self-deprecating about it? Or it comes across as self-deprecation? Yes, but because he says it, that's where my brain is like, okay, he knows he's bad. He knows what he does was wrong. But and this is where, like, you have to really get in the mindset of, like, people in worlds where people are so duty-bound, they can't let morals get in the way of it.
Right.
And that's how I read Castile's character. At that point.
Okay.
Right? Now, all the other previous shit, you're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, in hindsight, you're like, dude, what the hell was all that?
Yeah.
And I think that's him being stupid.
I guess. Yeah.
That's him being
but
stupid.
he's supposed to be hundreds of years old, and he's supposed to have all of this sexual trauma. So the character, in my mind, isn't adding up.
The thing is, I will say that he said that line that kind of implies he has sexual trauma. In later books, I think the author was like, that's not what I meant. So it ends up being
That's definitely what it sounded like.
That's what it sounds like, right? And my brain is like, I know he tells us later on, like, a little bit of what actually happened to him. And I don't think that is what happened. Like, my memory is trying to be like, what did he say happened to him again?
Mm-hmm.
I know he was tortured, that's for sure. But I don't think there was a sexual aspect to it that I can remember.
Okay. I feel like that would stick out to you.
Yeah, I think it would too. Because that would have been something that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Just like with Akatar, of like, you say this guy has a sexual trauma and then you never discuss it again, fuck you.
Yeah, right? You can't just drop it in there like a little Easter egg.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that he actually doesn't. I think it was more of like the way they tortured him was really fucked up.
Okay.
And so that's the only thing I can really remember about that aspect.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. To say that he's duty bound and that's why he did everything.
Oh, no,
doesn't really add up.
No. I'm saying that's why he's forcing himself through the I feel like shit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Of like, he was an idiot.
He's supposed to be hundreds of years old. So why is he still an idiot? He's hundreds of years old. He's fighting for king and country, or fighting for his brother.
King and country, yeah.
Yeah. He has this intricate plot. He should have a little bit of self-control somewhere in there. He's been tortured. He's escaped. Like, all of these things that you would think would give somebody self-control to not,
randomly sleep with women?
Not just randomly, but like intentionally use
That's what I mean.
Your sexual wiles to manipulate somebody.
Because I think at first, the best way I can describe it, like my brain, right? If I'm the person that's like, this, listeners, is where you get to listen to my fucked up brain and ideas when it comes to politics and how I would political maneuver my way through things. Welcome to how to plot your way to the top 101 with the hair. So if I'm royalty, right? Not even necessarily royalty, just like somebody who works for king country, right? And my job, like, and I know, right, my talents are straight up killing people, right? Like, we know he's talented at, bashing heads in.
Yes.
But we also understand that he knows that he is good looking and that he can use that to his advantage. We know these things to be true, right? Right? We're all on that page.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So if I was him, right, and I know there is this impressionable person who has never experienced life, and I need to get them on my side and to trust me enough to basically go with me wherever the fuck I want them to go, that's how you do it. right? You can't kill them.
Nope.
They're going to be scared the fuck out of you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can manipulate the fuck out of them.
You can.
Yeah, you can. Now, you have two options with the manipulate the fuck out of them, right? Now, this is the part where he fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is where I'm on your side. I'm with your opinion on this. Now, again, if I'm him and I know these things, I'm going the route of seduction.
Okay.
Like, I'm going we'll call it the charismatic route, because seduction is just one of two options. Right? Because either you can be a lover or you can be a friend.
Okay.
Because that's the charismatic route. You can become either a lover, which then results in almost inherent trust, especially for a person who's never had sex before. Mm-hmm. And that's just such an intimate thing that unless they see it as something that's just something fun or something, like there's a way to view sex in that it's not that deep connection, right? Some people have that view and that's good for them. But if she's Poppy, right, and what you know of this sheltered person, right, your guess most likely is going to be that they're not that view.
No. Yeah.
Right? That they're going to see sex as something intimate and bond inducing and very like a way of trust, right?
Because why else would the gods have banned it for her?
Exactly. Right? Like it builds a connection of some kind, right? So that's one route, right? Become a lover, get her to trust you, because basically you're gonna fake being in love with her.
Yeah.
Right? Basically make her love you so that you get everything you want out of her.
Yeah.
Right? That's one option. Now the second option, and what Huck should have fucking done, right?
Yes.
Because he decided to go the first route, which ended in him catching feelings.
Yes, it did.
Like, dumbass. Now, the second route, which is the less risk involved, is option number 2, which is becoming a friend. And I don't just mean friend, like, hey, bud. I mean tawny levels of you trust me, I trust you, I have your back.
Ride or die.
Ride or die. Right?
Yes.
Now, that...
I know your secrets, I'll keep your secrets.
Now, hey, this thing is happening. For example, the dissenter is attacking the right.
Yeah.
That's the moment where if you're a really good friend, you say, hey, I got you, let's go.
Right.
And you kidnap her ass. But that wasn't a planned attack, so I get why that didn't happen. So, with the ride or die situation, that's easier. You avoid all these issues. You avoid having to sexually manipulate her. You avoid catching feelings. You avoid all these things. Like a smart person. But the thing is, I will say, typically, my understanding of things I've read in books and my understanding of like tactics and shit.
Yes.
Route 1 works easier.
Yeah, it's way easier. Yeah.
Right? So
I mean, think of all of the betrayals of lovers all over the world. Like,
Route 1 is easier. So that's why you go with Route 1. In this situation, if it's someone who's lived for as long as he has, that's the only logical reason why I could see he would go the route that is more dangerous and would require for him to have self-control.
Yeah.
Is because he's desperate to get his brother back.
Yes.
And it's the easier route.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point. Of like, yeah, that is a pretty commonly followed method of getting somebody to trust you and follow you implicitly. But this was totally a side mention that you had of where you said that the dissenter attack wasn't planned. It kind of was, because he had the Duke stabbed up on the wall behind the thing the whole time. So
when they describe it in the book, actually, and the thing is, the way it went wasn't what was supposed to happen.
Okay.
Like, the things unraveled in a way that they weren't supposed to.
Okay.
Like, killing the Duke was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that aspect of it was the plan. Or part of the plan, at least. And to a certain extent, I do think disrupting the right was a part of the plan. I'd have to find the exact wording in the book again.
Okay.
But the whole thing was not. That much is clear. They do state that in the book. Like, Castiel is like, that shit wasn't supposed to fully happen.
It wasn't supposed to go down like that.
It was not supposed to go down like that. But he kind of does mention, and they do explain it, where it's like, it's the byproduct of having a disconnect between the followers and the true faction. Because that's the biggest problem in Solus. Solaris?
Yeah.
Solus? I don't remember the name of the
I
country.
think it's Solus.
Solus. That's the big problem in Solus when it comes to the dissenters and the Atlanteans. The Atlanteans have the plan, and they know what they're trying to do, but the dissenters are simply just the believers. They're not actually a part of the Atlanteans' movement to attack the Kingdom of Solus.
Okay.
And so there's this...
And it almost seems like sometimes they get them on their side through methods or claims that don't really align with the Atlantean plan.
That is correct. And that's already a problem in book 1, right? Because when Poppy's in the cell and those guys come down and they're like, hey, we're gonna murder you.
Yeah, and she's like, no, you're not.
Fuck you, no.
Yeah. Yeah, and she does almost die.
And she does very much so almost die.
Yeah, that's when it became really evident that there was that disconnect.
So there is some stuff there. Like, honestly, the characters, I can agree, have their issues. And it does require, as we've already found out so far, a lot of like discussion to really understand where they possibly could be coming from.
Right. And maybe even the knowledge from the other books.
Yeah. But I will say some of the political stuff that happens in this book, very fun.
Okay.
Very fun. Like mainly like Castiel's movements as Hawk. While stupid, right? The decision he makes the further on he goes in the book,
right,
is
once he already has her,
like that's
he's already got her trust.
That's dumb bitch disease, right?
That's thinking with your little head, not your big head.
Got me.
Sorry.
Got me. But it's realistic though.
Yeah,
the decision,
it is for
a lot
sure.
of the political machinations, a lot of the structure things, a lot of the way that the kingdom manipulates the people and stuff, all of it's very realistic and makes sense, at least in my brain. So I enjoyed that. Like, I enjoyed that aspect of the plot.
And once you explain it, like with that little political background or that political site with it, lens, that's the word, it does make a little more sense. It doesn't make me like them more, but it makes me understand them.
Yeah.
And it's
like I said, my goal is not to make you like this.
Right, I know. But I feel like I shouldn't have to have a whole ass hour-long conversation with somebody who is like more into it than I am to understand the motivations and the actions of the characters.
Yeah. I agree. No, I agree. I think there's a lot of ways to write it better. But I think it really just depends on, we talked about this earlier, it depends on how you're going into the book.
Yeah.
I go into books looking for this shit.
That's true. Yeah, you do love a political subplot.
I am a lore hunter. That's my, like, if there's vibrators.
She's got little claw hands up.
I'm a lore hunter. So I think for me, when I read these kinds of books, I'm looking for this kind of shit. Right? Like, I go into it. Where if you're the kind of reader that's like, I'm just going in because I want to read a good book.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to get the same experience. And so I think it just comes down to, as you mentioned, writing. Comes down to writing.
I'm a writing reader. Like if I like the author's writing style, I'm in it. Or if I like the characters. I very much love a character-driven book, as seen by my love of When the Moon Hatched.
Yeah, and I
So,
think talking about Blood and Ash and talking about When the Moon Hatched and our differencing opinions on that is such a good example of our differences in reading.
yes.
I think
Where you're like, I don't understand. What's the plot? Where's the plot? Give me the politics. And I'm like, but they're so good.
but the writing's amazing. And I'm like, I know the writing's amazing. I get it. I need something to happen now, please.
Yeah.
I need dramatic. Not really dramatic to a certain extent, but I need certain things.
Something.
I need something in my brain. I'm always looking for that subtle manipulation. I'm looking for people being assholes.
Yes.
I hate it. It makes me so angry when I read it, but I'm
Yes.
like, I love it.
Okay. And I know we're getting pretty far into this, but we haven't talked about the one thing that really bothered me about the book, and maybe you can make it make sense.
I probably can't, but I'll try.
Lay
it on me.
What was the purpose of the Duke's type of sexual / physical / emotional, we'll just say the Duke's abuse? What was the point of that type of abusive style?
I have an answer, and Castile actually kind of says it again.
Did he? What did he say?
He did. So again, I think it, like, though, and again, this is how my brain took it, right?
Okay.
Later on, when he's trying to explain what the Craven are, right? Who the Craven are, what vampires actually are, like who the Ascended actually are, and stuff like that.
Yes.
Because there's two connecting factors, but you have to remember them for them to connect, for this to make sense. Let me preface this with, I think there were better ways to show this. To show what I'm about to explain.
Okay.
But I also get why it happened. I don't agree with it, but I can understand. That's my preface here.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to fully defend it.
You can't.
Yeah, no, I can't. So, my understanding of it was it's a combination. It's basically meant to show how unemotional and borderline sociopathic the Ascended are. And Castile points this out at the end, and Poppy actually makes reference to it a couple times. So Castile at the end basically is like talking about, like, of course they're fucking monsters. Like, let's talk about what the Duke fucking did to you. Like, what the Duke and Lord Mazine did to you. Like, they're monsters. They feed off of children, and they freaking tortured you. Right? Like, he says that towards the end of the book when he's trying to convince her that he's not, like, lying to her face. Which, good luck, dude. But, to his point, Poppy does say, maybe midway through the book, that she can't feel anything from the Ascended. She feels nothing from them. Now, there's two ways you can go about explaining that, right? One, maybe because they're Ascended, they block her abilities. Right? That's one way to explain it. Or, and the method my brain found to be the most logical, like the route my brain just went down, was that there's fucking sociopaths. Like, between Castile's description and Poppy's ability to feel emotions, they're sociopaths. That at least the Lord and Duke, for sure, are just complete and utter sociopaths. And I think because those are our examples of the Ascended, it's meant to be like, I guess, the case study of what all Ascended are like. So that's my only reason I could possibly give to us seeing the abuse. That's the only reason I can give to it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything beyond that, I'm like, that's some bullshit.
Yeah. I guess,
That's
like,
how I read it.
thinking that they're sociopaths and that she doesn't feel
psychopaths.
anything. Psychopaths, yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever pathology you want to apply to it. And that she can't feel anything from them doesn't really add up, because she doesn't feel anything from them even when they are doing the abuse towards her.
Well, that's what I
So,
mean.
like,
That's what I mean. I don't, like, we all
because
know.
they're
Go
getting
ahead.
pleasure from it. It's clear that they get pleasure from it. So she should feel something from them.
The way I interpreted it, because, again, half this book I think is fucking interpretation.
Yeah.
It's annoying, but I do think that's the case. The more we talk about it, I'm more like, this book is just up to interpretation.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Yes, they get pleasure from it, but like I said, the connection to the emotion thing isn't meant to be actually what is happening. Like, clearly they got pleasure from it because they're fucking weirdos. And fucking monsters for doing what they did.
Right.
But I think the connection of, like, Castile saying what they did plus the emotion thing, because the emotion thing comes first. And then the final connection goes with Castile being like, the Ascended are fucking monsters and they just do shit because they can. I think is the purpose of seeing the abuse, is to see, like, okay, they fucking abuse this young girl who has done nothing wrong.
Right.
Right? Poppy doesn't feel emotions from them, which is weird. So it's not meant to be like it's not like the final nail in the coffin sort of situation. But it's another, like, maybe their emotional systems aren't functioning how they should.
Yeah.
Their empathy levels, their ability to understand how people feel and understand what they're doing to people is wrong. Something's fucked up in the brain.
Right.
And then finally Castile being like, no, these people are literally an abomination to nature.
Okay.
That's how I saw it. Again, back to my preface from earlier. There are most likely better ways that could have been shown.
Yeah.
Like, if you needed to show them, but there is an aspect, though, of needing to see them being cruel. Now, did that have to be with how descriptive that fucking happened?
No. The sexual aspect of it was really what made me super uncomfortable.
That's fair. I think I ignored it. I think I skipped past it.
Like, I understand that the abuse is there to kind of make you understand why she was so hesitant sometimes to break the rules, but, like, also it never stopped her, which is another thing that didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, of, like, she would have this terrible, awful abuse that would happen to her and it wouldn't stop her. Or she wouldn't think, like, oh, I'm scared to do this thing because this abuse is going to happen.
Yeah.
At least I don't recall.
I have no defense for that because I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
I got nothing for that one.
Okay. I think that was, like, one of the biggest things that I had as things that I did not like about the book, of I never got a reason for it. Like, usually there's a reason for something that awful happening, and I didn't get the reason here. Like, there was no explanation of it other than maybe to prove that they're monsters. And I did love the chopping up of Lord Mazine. Yes, I think we all loved that.
So satisfying.
So satisfying. We needed that. We needed that at the time. The only other thing I can think of just in our conversation here coming to the forefront of my mind is to kind of show that, or make her question the ascension being of the gods, like being supported by or backed by or being an act of the gods and giving a reason for why she was so uncomfortable with the idea of it, or to prove the point that the only people that would be able to successfully live as an ascended vampire person would be monsters.
Yeah, I can see that.
The Duchess is a monster for ignoring what happened. The Duke and Mazine are obviously monsters, and everybody else just kind of turns a blind eye to the death from the Craven.
Well, it sounds like, from what I remember and what Castile kind of says in the end, is like the Ascended make the Craven attack on purpose.
Yeah. Right.
So
to keep the people under control.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing I can think of is maybe to prove that to become an Ascended, you do have to have a level of monstrosity in you.
Yeah, or at least to survive as an Ascended.
Yeah.
Because
you might not know.
Yeah.
But.
So, no, I agree. I think that is the only way, like, for it to make any logical sense is, like, you almost do have to see exactly how monstrous. It's almost like the author wanted you to see how monstrous the Ascended are.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. That's kind of like the only explanation.
Yeah.
Which still fucked up.
It's still fucked up. I feel like there were other ways to demonstrate the monstrosity of it without having the overt and unwarned almost sexual abuse aspect of it. Because that's what it basically was. It was a violation.
No, I agree. Extremely fucked up.
I don't know. It's extremely fucked up.
I'm with you on it. I'm with you on it. I got nothing, like I said.
At least we're all on the same page.
Yeah. I can explain most things in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, again, how I view it and how my brain processes things. That I got nothing for.
Well, at least we brought it up.
Yeah. I do think it's important, though, to be brought up, because it is an important aspect of, like, Poppy's history.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish... just part of me, like, I'm glad... No, I'm not glad. I'm trying to think of the right way to put it. So one of the things I liked about Poppy's character, as compared to some other female, like, fantasy female leads, like some FMCs...
Yeah.
Is that I believe that she could take on people twice her size.
Okay.
Because it's made very clear that Victor has been training her.
Mm-hmm.
That she can defend herself.
Yeah.
At least against Craven and regular people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we see that. And we get to actually experience one of her training moments.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, with Victor, we get to see, like, what he's doing, correcting her, preparing her, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is not something I always fully believed with other female characters. There's some that I'm like, okay, you're a trained assassin. Makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
But, like, Feyre, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, girl?
Nesta's training montage.
Right? Like, there's an establishment that she's been trained, and then we see the training that she continued to have.
Yes.
That it wasn't just, oh, I learned a couple things and now I'm great at it. No, it's like she was continuously being trained.
Yeah.
So I could believe that Poppy had the brains and the knowledge to defend herself against others.
Yeah.
And I did appreciate that about her character.
Having the training was helpful, I think. There was still part of me that had a suspension of belief that she was as talented as she was, until at the very end when they're like, you're an Atlantean, which we know because of your experience with the book that that's not exactly true. But the fact that she's not human is another explanation as to why she was so fast or so strong or able to fight when she's not spending every single day training. It's like an intermittent thing for her. And the rest of her time is spent relatively sedentary.
Yeah.
which doesn't really add up to her being this incredible warrior as she's portrayed.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I think, and I do like how, like, for the realism aspect of it, how, like, again, against regular people and Craven, it's clear she can handle herself easy peasy, no problem. Right? Like, she is very talented. But the moment all of her opponents became non-human, like, became Wolven and Atlantean, who are the ones that we know are the warriors, rather than, like, mindless people who, like Craven, who are like, I just want to bite you. Zombies. That she did get her ass kicked.
Yeah, with the prison scene.
Like, with the prison scene and against Castile. And, like, basically the latter half of the book is just her getting her ass kicked. Because she's fighting against people that aren't her normal enemies.
Except Lord Mazine, but we can overlook that because we needed it.
Yeah. And also, I think he wasn't expecting it. From all the years of abuse, I think he was just like, you're not going to hit me, are you, bitch? And then we're all
very demure.
Like,
very
like,
cutesy.
And now you're a pile of chopped up little pieces that are going to get fed to the pigs.
Yup. Bye.
Exactly. So, seeing that, though, like, because that's even believable, because, surprise, in the right hit, and enough anger, but with enough clarity to be like, I'm gonna take your fucking head off. I can see it. You could see it.
Yeah. The blind rage.
Yeah. Which she was, like, clearly in a blind rage.
Oh, absolutely. As she should be.
Yeah. And so, I appreciated her getting her ass kicked later on, because again, I believe she has the skill to do what she needs to do, but now she has to gain the power to do what she needs to do.
Yeah,
because she has the training. Now she has to now she needs the practical application on a more regular basis.
Yes, the over and over and over again training regimen.
Which she will get. She'll have no choice.
Yes.
So that I did really appreciate about her character. On the flip side, I don't know about you, and I think you'll agree with this. I wish she was more scared.
Yes. There's a lack of fear that isn't ever explained.
Yeah. And that's
or even like a lack of anxiety, even if we're just looking at baby fear. Like
yeah, I'm with you 100%. I do wish that she had shown more fear or anxiety. I think
it would have made it feel more real in my mind.
Yeah, I think she would have been a more believable character if she had that.
Yeah. Not just this random, wild, successful war.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, she needs to have some fear in her, have some anxiety about, again, like we'd mentioned before, like, her hands need to be shaking while she's holding the cards at the Red Pearl. Or when I think it would have been really interesting if when she went upstairs to run away from Victor, if when Castile had shown up, instead of being like, oh yeah, I'm into this, she was more like, what the fuck do I do? What the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
What the fuck do I do? Shit, fuck. What do I mean, I'm into it, but what do I do?
What do I do? Not just, oh, it's forbidden, I can't do it. Of like, I'm already here, what do I do?
Like, it's forbidden. Oh shit, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Yeah. She's written as extremely confident and forward and just like this warrior queen can destroy all that cross her path and supposed to be afraid but isn't afraid.
Yeah. And I do wish,
like, why is she not afraid of the Craven attack? Like, yes, she's been trained, but why is there not a single hesitancy of fear that I recall, at least?
No, I can see that. Again, that's the only logical reason I can give to it is that she... Honestly, I think the anger actually might overtake that one.
Okay.
Just because they did murder her parents.
Yeah, well, there's that.
So, I can see her not being afraid of the Craven and that still being realistic because it's more of like, I'm gonna murder them all. Go, like, for anime fans, go all Eren Yeager on their asses, like with the Titans, you know? Like, I'm just gonna be pissed. I won't show fear because I'm just angry.
Anger.
At least towards the Cravens, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I think she should have feared the Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
And she should have feared.
Fared.
I think she should have feared intimate contact. Or at least had anxiety over intimate contact.
Uh-huh.
Feared the Ascended, anxiety over intimate contact, pissed off at the Craven.
Yeah.
Take that mix, and I think we have a much better Poppy.
I think so. A more believable Poppy, at least.
Because I think her feeling like a teenager, I think is bound to happen. Because she is sheltered, but she isn't. But because she doesn't have the life experience most people would have at her age,
right.
I think that would lead to a decent amount of immaturity. In my brain.
True.
In my brain, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think if we had gotten that fear that we both want, I think the immaturity would feel more believable too.
Yes. Like, she's not immature in literally any other part of her life.
Yeah, so why is she suddenly stomping her foot?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. I still don't like it, but it makes more sense to me then.
Again.
Now, after talking to you in depth about it for an extended period of time of all of the motivations and possibilities and reasons behind it, like, I feel like I shouldn't have to have a deep analysis conversation to understand the motivations of a character.
No, I agree.
But that might just be the lazy reader in me.
No, I agree, though. I think it should be... I think, depending on the kind of book you're reading, the motivations should be clear. Like, from the get-go. But again, that depends on the type of book you're reading.
What type of book are we reading here?
I don't think we're reading a book where motivations are meant to be known right away.
So they come out later on?
I do believe so. But again, I'll let you know, because I'll probably keep reading.
Okay. You're going to redo the whole series?
Yeah, might as well. Okay. I just want to keep hearing
You're already here.
I just want to keep hearing Castile's British accent. That's it. I'm here to simp.
That's fair. You know, you got to do what you got to do to get through it.
Is there any other notes you wanted to discuss?
I don't think so.
Let me. My part 2 is much longer. Oh, one thing that we'll both want to gag at when I say it, but I have to mention it because it's very funny to me.
Oh, no.
So first of all, I mentioned the gross emoji that showed up in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Honeydew.
I don't even remember that.
That's what he says she tastes like.
Oh!
Guys can't see it, but she basically threw herself back on that one.
Yep. Sorry about your ears. I forgot. Yeah.
But I'm just like, honeydew, bleh. And then honeydew part 2, bleh.
I think I must have blocked that one out of my mind.
You probably did.
All I can think of is watermelon sugar high.
Watermelon sugar high.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah. I know.
So.
Where is the freaking thing I said? Okay, this is definitely way too much information, but the description of her very first orgasm is accurate.
I don't remember it.
It's in my notes because I was listening to it and I might zoned out, I think, while driving since I was on the highway.
Yeah.
And I'm just like focusing on the road, so I didn't skip through it like I probably would have if I was just sitting and listening. But like, he's like going to town. It's her first time having an orgasm, and I'm like, huh, that's accurate. So that's my weird thing I had.
I skipped through all their scenes, so I just went.
I know.
So I don't remember that.
Another one was I will fully admit that Eric's death got me good.
Who's Eric?
In the forest. So they're in the forest, they're heading to New Haven, and the Craven attack.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy gets disemboweled by a Craven. And that's the first time that Castile sees her power.
Oh, to feel emotions?
To take away pain.
Yeah. Okay.
So does Philip, I think, the other guard that gets murdered at the end of the book, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cried. I was driving, and I'm like, I cannot be crying while driving. That got me. Not me getting anxious because I know all these people are showing up in New Haven. All these people showing up in New Haven are Prince Castile's people, and therefore hate the maiden. So I'm like, anxious.
Yeah.
Hawk is really stupid for forgetting that Poppy is super fucking observant. Because
you sent me that message, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, it was a moment where she was like, these people are weird. Why is the Lord just out hunting with regular people?
Yeah.
What the fuck is up?
But she didn't really think it was weird until I think that guard was like, we gotta go. And she was like, that is weird, you know?
Well, she was thinking it was weird, but she was so blindly trusting Hawk that she pushed off the fact that her brain, who is super fucking observant, because like we said, she spends 80% of her time, 90% of her time being sedentary. Yes. And just watching people.
She also has that hypervigilance of trauma.
Yeah, trauma. So, like, she's super fucking observant, and we get to see that throughout the book, and that's another thing I did appreciate.
Yeah.
But he walked away and left her alone, and I'm like, you idiot. If she didn't blindly trust you, she would have been gone.
He probably was banking on the fact that she would blindly trust him at that point.
That's true. And she did, so.
Yes. Worked out.
Oh, here's one. This is one that might make you laugh. This is a direct quote from the book. Okay. And so it's Castile, and then I think it's after they had sex for the first time. Like right after or something.
Okay.
But it's like, you kill me in ways I've never felt before, so that's Castile.
Okay.
In a good way? You know, Poppy asks. in ways I've never felt before is Hawk's response.
Okay.
My response to this? Good sir, you did not answer the question.
Thanks for repeating the same thing she asked you a question about.
But the thing is, though, I heard that, and I was like, that was on purpose, you son of a bitch. Because that was also not too long, or either before or after, he was like, just remember this was real. That's also another moment that I was like, he knows he fucked up. He knows he's done fucked up.
Yep. He caught the feelings, and he wasn't supposed to catch the feelings, and he took it too far.
Yep. You belong to me. Gross. It's just as bad as when I hear it on character AI. Was my line.
I guess it depends on how you're going to treat your possessions, so.
Yeah. And my last note I wrote, and I do not know what it was about.
Okay.
Was, I want some of whatever Castile has. It seems like it works to addle the mind pretty well.
Probably in the fact that Poppy doesn't want to completely kill him.
No, I want whatever Castile has. Like Castile.
No, I know. Because she doesn't want to kill him despite the fact that she should.
I don't think that's why I wrote it. I think it was I think Hawk Castile, whatever the fuck, was saying some shit.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, you're stupid. If you truly believe
dumbass juice?
Yeah. I was like, whatever was coming out of his mouth, I'm like, you're dumb and you're on something, and I want some because clearly it works.
Yes. Give me that reality bending pill, whatever you're taking there, Mike, dude.
Yeah, please share it with me.
I was going to say a big dick. I mean...
That too, that would be nice, you know? At least try it once, you know? I'd like to try it one time.
At least once.
At least once to know if it's my preference, you know?
There you go. That's about the only other thing besides like fantasy pill and big dick is about the only thing that Castiel has. Like, there's the red pill and the blue pill in the Matrix.
Uh-huh.
He's taken whichever one makes you forget
How to be
what the real world's doing.
Yeah, sounds about right. Oh god. Well, I think that concludes From Blood and Ash.
I think so.
So one thing we should discuss, because I do think this will be a discussion for a quick
Oh,
moment.
no.
What are we going to talk about next? Which, as a reminder, if you want to make a suggestion, leave us some fan mail.
Leave us a fan mail. What should we read next?
Or what should we read in the future? Because we're probably going to decide what end of April is going to be.
Yes.
But future reads are always welcome.
That's true. Guild?
No, because I'm reading that live.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'd
Okay.
be down for it.
The assistant to the villain.
I mean, I've read Assistant. I need to read Apprentice.
We could do just assistant.
I need to Assistant. Well, I mean, I can read it too. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so it wouldn't take me that long to read it. You do that one.
I'm like going through my read right now, and I'm just like, which ones have we both read?
Well, it could be something you can make me read something. Because I've made you read Blood and Ash. I do think it's your turn to pick a book and be like, read it. Even if you don't
Blood
like
of
it, read it.
Hercules.
Don't do this to me. Are you really going to make me do this?
See, the only reason I suggested is because it does have the political intrigue part of it that you like. Like the whole thing about everybody's lying to Poppy for the entirety of the book and they're all manipulating her. That's literally just the entirety of Blood of Hercules.
But it's still going to piss me off, isn't it?
Yes. You have to forget, like, completely cut ties with any kind of Greek pantheon.
That's not going to happen.
I know, that's the problem with that one.
I mean, I'll do
That's
it.
about the only one. That's about the only one I've read that you haven't read, I don't think. Other than, I could try to convince you to read Crescent City.
That would be a convincing me to read moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll let you have your choice. Crescent City or Blood of Hercules.
I won't put you through Blood of Hercules. I only liked it because the main character is really funny and like I could actually understand the political plot that was going on.
Okay.
And just like the fatalism of the main character, like the nihilistic attitude of her, where you can tell, and like the voice actor is amazing for her on the audiobook, where it's like you can tell that a lot of things are written in parentheses because it is a first person perspective. And like, for example, just one that sticks to my head about something from the narrator's perspective of part of the school, we'll call it, it's called the Crucible that they go through, involves torture, like deprivation of food, water, and sleep. They're not allowed to do it for 2 weeks at a time. And so she becomes delirious over and over and over again. And so they're in this little cavern, which is where they have their classes. And she's like, somebody fell and hit their head against the wall. It was me. Like, it's like a bunch of stuff like that scattered throughout. That's really funny. Also, there is a dumbass dog, and I love myself a dumbass dog.
That's fair.
Like a dog that he eats dirt and grass and sticks, and he's trying to carry a stick, except he doesn't know he's supposed to carry it the long ways, and he tries to hold it down his throat, and he chokes on it all the time. Love a fucking stupid dog.
That's because it reminds you of your dogs.
I know.
My dog would never.
So, your dog would never.
He says yes.
I love my dumb dog.
He looked at me the moment I said that. He looked at me like, I would never what?
So, I won't make you read it, but that is why I
mean,
enjoyed it so much.
Now I'm thinking about it because I don't know if I want to deal with the bullshit that is Hunt and Bryce's relationship.
I really liked the first one. Like, when I was going back through and re-listening to all of them, I was like, I don't mind the first one as much because so much of it is about her dealing with grief in a very realistic way.
Okay.
So I feel like it does do credit and justice to loss.
Okay. Will it make me sad?
Parts of it will.
Okay, that's normal though.
It's like your best friend dying in a completely unexpected and brutal way.
Yeah. I almost feel like pulling up one of those coin flippers, being like, heads is Crescent City, tails is Blood of Olympus. Both are gonna, or Blood of Olympus, Blood of Hercules. Both are gonna suck for me. Which one is it gonna be? Let's see.
She's doing it.
We're doing it. Well,
I can see the light flashing on your screen.
We're gonna leave it to the gods to decide.
Yeah.
Let's see. Coin flippers coming up. I'll let you decide. Heads, we'll do Crescent City will be whatever you make it.
Heads.
Heads, okay. Well, it's heads, so I guess I'm reading Crescent City.
Haha.
Okay. That's fine.
At least you get Rune Danon, Prince of the Valbaran Fae.
And Resident Frat Boy?
Yes. But, like, the best kind of frat boy.
You say that, and I'm gonna be rolling
I do say
my
that.
eyes throughout this entire
Yes.
thing, aren't I?
That's okay.
Oh boy, I deserve it. I made you sit through Blood and Ash, so here we are.
Yes.
At least we'll have graphic audio.
Yes, and the graphic audio is really good.
Okay.
I'm
gonna download it while I'm thinking about it.
Heck yeah. We did it, guys.
Hey, at least I can say I finished the triad of SJM books then, if I do
True.
that.
Or at least you started it. I won't make you sit through the second one. You have to get through, like, the first... Hey, and House of Earth and Blood is available for the graphic audio, so it's meant to be.
The what? The first one is the bread book,
House of
right?
Earth and Blood. Yeah.
Okay. I'm borrowing it. We're doing it. We're borrowing part 1. There's part 2.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Yep, we got him.
Ha 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 ha.
Can't see me, but I'm wrinkling my nose.
She's mad.
You
She
don't...
swore she would never do this.
Well, because I don't typically like urban settings.
It's kind of great, though.
Like, you have to be funny enough for me to like urban settings. Like, that's what I'm learning, that I really like urban settings if it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I can laugh at you, great. But the fact that you're putting me through what you have described as one character is a frat boy, another character comes across as prom queen.
Yep.
Means
she's a self-described party girl.
I'm gonna hate this.
You're welcome.
But I deserve it because I made you sit through Blood and Ash, so I will sit through Crescent City.
It's okay.
I hate myself
You
already.
can tell me how much you hate it.
I know, that'll be our next shot. We'll switch places.
We'll switch places, yes, as to why it's actually a really well-written, in-depth book versus I freaking hate the characters. Or maybe you'll surprise yourself.
Well, I mean, that's what happened with When the Moon Hatched. I could agree with everything you liked about the book. Didn't mean I liked the book.
That's true.
I'm pretty...
I think it's one of SJM's better written books. I mean, I didn't read the the Throne of Glass series all the way through, so.
Yeah. You know what would be really funny for both of us to do, because we could both just suffer together?
Okay.
We could always sit through Zodiac Academy.
Ooh, okay.
I don't think I hate myself enough to do that, though.
Yeah, this is probably far enough for you.
Probably. At one point, we might have to do rhapsodic. Rhapsodic?
I don't know anything about it.
It's rhapsody and then something like rhapsodic. Rhapsodic? Is that how you would say that word?
Wraps the dick or my legs around.
I hate you. Because that actually was pretty good, and then I stopped reading because I am dumb.
Okay.
But I like the book, so that might be another book we try out later.
Yes.
Because it was
We
a
can
fun
add
one.
it to the list.
That was a fun one.
The
What?
left side of my headphones just kicked in.
Did it finally kick in?
Yeah.
Can you finally hear everything at the end of this recording?
Yes. I
That's
have both
hilarious.
ears working now, just not one.
That's hilarious.
Yes. Well, next time we'll be seeing how much the hair has suffered.
Oh no. I have a month to listen to this thing, so
Yes, you do.
thank God.
Yep.
Okay, well that's...
And you have several days.
Don't remind me. I hate you. I'm going to see a movie tomorrow, so it ain't gonna be tomorrow.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh fuck! I have to figure out what I'm eating. Okay, that's a soon to be me problem.
That's it.
Okay, yeah, we've been the Tortoise and the Hare Book Club. Thanks for listening.
Until next time.
Bye.